Hi, and welcome to Vanessa Júpiter Sitting Room. Today we are talking about The Purge. Disclaimer 1. This video will contain spoilers for The Purge election year. Disclaimer 2. I have not watched the TV series. Disclaimer 3. I am not from the US. This means I might have missed some nuance when it comes to discussing US American culture because I have never been there. If something I say sounds confusing because it sounds like I'm clearly missing something, I might be. Part 1. What is the Purge election year? The Purge election year is the third movie in the Purge franchise where all crime becomes legalized for one night every year because of the party of the new founding fathers of America, the party that instituted the Purge. Within the Purge election year, Senator Roan is running for president, and she is the biggest candidate anti-Purge. She wants to remove the Purge from existence. She has her chief of security. His name is Leo. After an assassination attempt on the senator, on the night of the Purge, they run away. They're being attacked by a group of tourists, and they are saved by Joe. Joe is a small business owner who is also friends with Pequena Muerte. Pequena Muerte is a vigilante woman who makes sure that some people feel protected during Purge night. With her van, she goes around the city protecting people. This is our cast of characters. Senator Roan, the senator, who is a candidate for president, and she is heavily opposed to the Purge. There is Leo, who's her chief of security. He's basically the protagonist of the movie. Joe, who could be considered to be the protagonist of the other half of the movie, who's a small business owner, and Pequena Muerte, who's a vigilante woman who takes care of people during Purge night. And the new founding fathers of America is another name that I'm going to be referring to. They are the party that instituted the Purge. Part 2. World building. The new founding fathers of America instituted the Purge specifically to kill poor people in order to reduce crime. This is part of the text of the movie. The main thing about it is that it works. The Purge is a night where people can kill, and they do. They mostly kill the poor people who have no access to security systems. Therefore, there's less crime during the rest of the year. And that leads to the belief that the poor are the cause of all crime, which is really bad. This is really not a message that the world building itself should be sending. And this is very much the foundation within which the Purge universe is built. Beyond that, one of the reasons why the Purge was instituted and to kill poor people is because with less poor people, there's less free healthcare, there's less free housing, etc. And to claim that the best way to stop spending money on healthcare as a government would be to institute a night where all crime is legal. I don't want to break it to you, the Purge election year, but the easiest way to not provide healthcare for people is to not provide healthcare for people. If the government does not provide healthcare for the poor will die. That justification makes no sense, and it is a justification that is used in universe as why the Purge was instituted in the first place. And it makes so little sense that just makes the entire political narrative of the movie feel all the much weaker. I think that it's fine for like a trashy horror movie to have a foundation that is very weak, but as the Purge grew, it really wanted to lean into this political message, but it leaned heavily on it without really questioning how the world building could work with it. And I find that bad because I do think that within the world building itself, there's classism. Part 3: Optics. The Purge election year is so concerned with what you are going to think it is trying to say. I think that the most egregious example of this is the way that it treats race and racism within the movie. There are two separate sets of characters. There are the characters who are on the senator's side and the characters who are on Joe's side. One of these sets of characters is entirely white. One of these sets of characters is entirely black. And all of the villains of this set of characters are white. All of the villains in this set of characters are black. It takes some time for the two sets of characters to converge, and even when they do, the violence enacted between both groups, it's always internal. And to me, that's such an obvious optics concern, because the Purge election year knows that portraying white on black crime would be very easily seen as exploitative and in bad taste. However, portraying black on white crime would be seen as bad in the context of we are only creating black villains for that kill these white protagonists, blah blah blah. This is bad. And I understand where the Purge election year is coming from, but the extent to which these two sides of characters don't interact with each other is so striking. It becomes almost parodic in terms of like how concerned they are with the optics. There is this group of people who are the white supremacists of the film. They literally have a Confederate flag, a swastika, and white power written on the back of their jackets. So these people are white supremacists. There's no doubt about that. And these people are the big villains of the Purge election year. And I want to make something very clear. I am glad that the Purge election year, which is a very, very successful US American horror action film, has a very distinctly anti extreme right rhetoric. Put a pin on this, please. Remember it. We are going to come back to the Purge is anti right. One of the problems that I do have with the Purge election year having white supremacists as the villains is the simple fact that the bar is too low. But more importantly, within the Purge election year, there is one character who is already bad enough. One character who could already be framed as the villain of the movie. Part 4. I hate Leo, and Leo and Joe's arc is the worst thing that ever happened. Let's talk about Leo and Joe's arc. This is where I left my brief summary of the movie. Joe saves Leo from an attack by tourists. After this point, Leo and the senator go into Joe's little shop, and Leo starts interrogating Joe. It is extremely racist. It is not just framed as racist. Joe and the senator comment on how inappropriate Leo is behaving. And listen, the very first time that I watched the Purge election year, I looked at this scene and I immediately knew where this was going. This was going to be the entire plot of the movie where Leo and Joe learn to start liking each other, and like Leo learns that Joe is not a bad person and that he shouldn't be prejudiced against Joe, and Joe will learn that Leo can actually grow and change, and that the way that he behaved was simply misguided. It's not systemic at all. It's just a matter of personal growth. And lo and behold, this is exactly what happens through the movie. By the end of the movie, we have Joe and Leo really liking each other. It is tired, annoying, and a racist trope, because someone being racist to someone else upon their first encounter is not simply a matter of personal growth to be achieved. And then the most infuriating part of the whole thing is that Joe dies and Leo survives by the end of the movie. This upset me so much that this is the reason why this is an entire bullet point. Because I want to show you how much the message of the Purge election year is not what it thinks it is. With the optics of it being all progressive and looking like this movie that is like against the system and everything. Meanwhile, it is upholding white supremacy within its own text by killing the black character who was victim of racism within the beginning of the movie, but letting the person who perpetrated this racism, who is the good cop, who is the good racist, survive. Interlude. Halloween for adults. I just want to make a mild rant right before I go into my last point of the video. There's like an unnamed character who says, "The Purge is like Halloween for adults." You know what Halloween for adults is? Halloween is Halloween for adults. What are you saying, Purge? Half of your audience is adults who like Halloween. Why are you telling us that the Purge is Halloween for adults? Do you want us to want the Purge? Because sometimes that's how it feels. It feels like the Purge movies love the Purge. It feels like the Purge movies want us to think that the Purge is super cool. For that matter, the Party in the USA scene. Iconic, amazing, I love it. It's my favorite scene in the entire franchise. But like, if the point of your movie is to show the injustice of the system that you have created within this world building, maybe making killing and wearing masks and making it all like Halloween for adults and cars with fairy lights playing a slow down version of Party in the USA and people like dressed super cool and like awesome, it's the Purge, we're going to kill everyone, yeah, so cool. Maybe this use of imagery goes against the message they're trying to go for with the text. Part 5. Go back to normal. Watching the Purge election year in 2020 is a wild trip. Because so many of the things that are said in this movie that was released in 2016, just 4 years ago, have already aged so poorly. The main example of this is the solution that is proposed by the Purge election year. What can we do to change the system? What can we do to deal with this huge crisis that was created by a government? Well, the reasonable thing to do, the Purge election year argues, is to vote for the correct candidate. If you vote for the correct candidate, things will get better. You know what the correct candidate is going to do? The correct candidate is going to eliminate the Purge. She's going to make the Purge not exist anymore. Boom! Problem solved. Senator Roan is very clearly framed as a good character within this movie. She is framed as the solution to all of the problems, and she fails to address a single issue that existed before the institution of the Purge. If you were to read what the senator is proposing to do, it would seem like the Purge came out of thin air, that the only problem that has ever existed within this universe has been the Purge itself. Her failure to address the underlying issues that made the Purge exist in the first place in this universe is such an oversight that it makes the entire message of the Purge election year worse. And now, finally, it is time to talk about Pequena Muerte and her arc in this movie. Early on in the movie, Joe wants to stay at his store to protect it because has lost insurance. Pequena Muerte tells him, "This is a bad idea. This is just stuff. You do not need to put your life at risk." Pequena Muerte is trying to say that Joe's life is more important than the stuff that he owns as a store owner. However, after Joe's death in the end of the movie, she starts rebuilding the store. She will supposedly become the new store owner. What the Purge electioneer wants from Pequena Muerte is for her to become her own entrepreneur, is for her to own her own business. She is becoming part of the free market. The solution for the Purge electioneer is not to destroy the system. The solution for the Purge electioneer is to work within the system. It is to vote, is to have your own small business that operates ethically, and not to destroy the system. The Purge electioneer is pure liberal propaganda, using imagery of revolution and trying to make a leftist looking movie, but failing to do so because it does not oppose capitalism or the system upon which our society is built. It is trying to work within that system and not destroy it. So, remember how I pinned the Purge electioneer is clearly anti-right? What I'm trying to say just now is that the Purge electioneer is not pro-left. The Purge electioneer is anti-right, but it is not pro-left, which makes it the perfect centrist movie, which argues for nothing. The only thing that the Purge electioneer wants to do is to eliminate the Purge and therefore make things go back to the way they were before the Purge with all of its problems, because that is the best we can achieve and continue within the society. The Purge wants to go back to normal and not challenge what we had at all. Thank you. Hi, my name is Vanessa Júpiter. I wanted to have an excuse to put myself in drag at least once a week because that is absolutely necessary for me to keep my mental sanity, and which is why I decided to create this YouTube channel. I am going to be uploading most Sundays. Next Sunday, I am actually going to be back on Twitch for the last episode of Vanessa Júpiter Reads or Prisons Obsolete by Angela Y. Davis. All of the information linked down below. As a note, I hope you enjoyed this mask because it was giving me so much trouble to keep it in frame because I love it. I think it's one of the most purged things that I own, so I needed to include it in the video, and I hope it was worth it. I hope you love it. My next video might actually be something a lot easier, something a lot less based on like the video essay style. I might decide to do just a top 10 list or something like that. I still don't know. I'm going to make no promises. I will be back eventually, probably in 2 weeks, most likely in 2 weeks even. Love, Vanessa Júpiter.